The present conditional tense, or le conditionnel, is yet another useful verb tense that you probably use all the time in English. Let's see how to use it and form it in French. First things first, in the upcoming grammar explanations, you'll hear me use the word clause, which might be confusing. So when I say clause, you can just think a part of a sentence with a verb in it. If you want a more detailed explanation of clauses, have a look in the video description. In both languages, we use the conditional to talk about things hypothetically. It's called conditional because it only happens when and if a condition is met. If the condition isn't met, it won't happen. Here's an example. Let's say a friend asks you for some money. You want to help, but you don't have anything to give, so you say, "If I had money, I would give it to you." The condition for you being able to give money, having money, is not met. That's why the action, giving, is hypothetical. Despite your intentions, your friend isn't getting any money from you. It's kind of hard to talk about things that might happen in other circumstances, but they're not happening now, and that's why the conditional is so useful. The conditional in English is a compound tense, which means that it takes multiple verbs to form it. For us, the auxiliary verb, or helping verb, is would, and then we use the regular form of the verb. The conditional tense of the English verb to travel, for example, is would travel. Notice the two verbs. Side note, since the conditional tense is usually triggered by, well, a condition, you will probably see the word if in the related clause. Let's have a few more examples in English here. If we had the time, we would travel the world. In these sentences, the conditional is on the right-hand side, and that's what this video is going to teach you to form in French. Now, the verb used with if goes in the imperfect past. We're not working on that now, but we do have a video on the imperfect, so there's a link to that in the description. Notice, by the way, that the if clause doesn't necessarily have to come first. These sentences still make perfect sense, and the same will go for French. The order is not important. So why do some people call this the present conditional? Because we're talking about current situations with hypothetical future actions. But you could also make similar statements about the past, 20 years ago, for example. 20 years ago, if you had given him a chance, he would have done a good job. In that case, this would be called the past conditional, but that's not what we're working on now. It's just in case you're curious about the name of this tense. One more thing about the usage of the conditional. Just like in English, the conditional in French also has a second use, being polite. Instead of saying, "I want a sandwich," we can make things more polite by saying, "I would like a sandwich, please." Notice how when you use the conditional in this way, you don't need another clause at all. There is no if here. So now that we know when to use the conditional, let's see how to form it in French. Good news, the conditional is very similar to the simple future, which we've already learned about, and there's a link for it in the video description. The steps are as follows. Number 1, get the infinitive of the verb. You don't need a certain form, but do drop the last E if it's an RE verb. Then add these endings, AIS, AIS, AIT, IONS, IEZ, and AIENT. Notice that these conditional endings are actually the same as the imperfect endings, but for the imperfect, step 1 is different, so the two tenses don't get confused. Although we have different spellings, just like the conditional, many of these endings sound the same when pronounced. AIS, AIT, and AIENT are all pronounced E. The new form ending is pronounced ion, and the VU form ending is ie. These endings go for all the verb types we have, ER, RE, and IR. So, only 2 steps. Easy, right? Let's practice. The verb manger means to eat. Step 1, get the infinitive, which is very simple, it's right here. And then with that in the chart, we add the endings, AIS, AIS, etc. So that gives us this chart. Notice the pronunciation. Je mangerai, tu mangerais, il mangerait, nous mangerions, vous mangeriez, elle mangerait. So to say, if we had apples, I would eat them, would be si nous avions des pommes, je les mangerais. Now you try one. Aimer means to love. How do you say, I would love to travel in French? That's right. J'aimerais voyager. Okay, let's try a whole chart. Pause the video and conjugate regarder in the conditional. Then be sure to say the results out loud to practice pronunciation, and then unpause. How'd you do? Je regarderai, tu regarderais, il regarderait, nous regarderions, vous regarderiez, il regarderait. Bravo! Around this time, you may be thinking, the conditional seems really similar to the future. How do I tell them apart? Well, the endings are our friends here. It's only one syllable, but you can definitely hear the difference between you will watch, tu regarderas, and you would watch, tu regarderais. The je form, unfortunately, sounds identical in both tenses. Je regarderai, je regarderai. You can tell the difference in written communication because of the S in the conditional conjugation, but if you're listening or speaking, you'll have to go by context. Now, it wouldn't be French or any language without a few exceptions. There are 12 irregular stems, but even so, the endings are the same as the ones we already learned. Plus, you'll notice that these irregular stems are the same stems as for the irregular future verbs. We're all human here, so don't hesitate to pause the video as we go through these new stems. Être takes the new stem sœur. When we combine that stem with the imperfect endings, we get a conjugation chart that looks like this. Je serai, tu serais, etc. Est-ce que tu serais intéressé? Would you be interested? Avoir takes the new stem or. Nous aurions besoin de clients pour réussir. We would need clients in order to succeed. The new stem for faire is faire. Si j'étais toi, je ferais mes devoirs. If I were you, I would do my homework. Aller takes the new stem ir. Si elle pouvait, elle irait avec lui. If she could, she would go with him. Devoir becomes devre. Vous devriez pouvoir connecter maintenant, madame, would mean you should be able to connect now, ma'am. Pouvoir becomes pour. Nous pourrions lire toute la journée. We could read all day. Savoir becomes saur. Je sais qui saurait quoi faire. I know who would know what to do. Notice savoir is conjugated in the present tense for I, je sais, and the conditional for who, which is the third person singular, qui saurait. Valoir becomes vaudre. Il vaudrait la peine d'étudier. It would be worthwhile to study. Literally, worth the pain. Venir becomes viendre. S'ils avaient le temps, ils viendraient à la fête. If they had the time, they would come to the party. Voir becomes ver. Si tu regardais, tu verrais. If you looked, you would see. Vouloir becomes voudre. Je voudrais un café, s'il vous plaît. I would like a coffee, please. Falloir means to be necessary, and just like in the present tense, in the conditional, it is only used with the third person singular pronoun il, because that's the French equivalent of it as a general subject pronoun. Basically, we're referring to the situation in general, not he, with this il. So, pour ouvrir la porte, il faudrait trouver la clé. To open the door, it would be necessary to find the key. Okay, a few more things about forming the conditional. Many verbs that end in ole or ute double their consonants, which subtly changes their pronunciation. J'appellerai mon ami, I would call my friend, and il jetterait le papier au feu, He would throw the paper in the fire. Verbs that end in oyer change spelling in the conditional to oier. The y's separated syllables, and the I keeps them together. Oyer becomes wa. Ils nettoieraient leur chambre. They would clean their rooms. Finally, verbs like jeter, poser, and acheter get accent grave when conjugated. Nous achèterions une maison. We would buy a house. I admit this is a weird concept. I'm linking more in-depth explanations in the description. So yes, there are 12 irregular conditional verbs, and those stems have to be memorized, but at least you can always count on the endings. Just memorize the irregular stems and these endings, and you'll be set. Before you go, why don't you practice translating these sentences into French? You can pause the video to work on it. I'll give you the answers in a second. Don't forget to pronounce your results out loud to yourself. Okay, let's see how you did. Vous feriez la même chose. You would do the same thing. Elle voyagerait. She would travel. Si je pouvais, je lirais toute la journée. If I could, I would read all day. Did you remember to drop the E from the RE verb? Tu pourrais être professeur. Notice how in French we don't say you could be a teacher, but you could be teacher. Je crois qu'il ou elle réussirait. I think that they would succeed. Nous voudrions savoir, s'il vous plaît. We would like to know, please. Okay, so you've got the basics of the conditional, but I bet you could use more practice. Check out the video description. There you'll find information on clauses and links to other videos that will help with basic conjugation questions and being able to fully understand the video you just watched. That's it! We've learned how to form the conditional tense in French. You can find more language learning resources and videos like this one at lingolearner.com.